Public Schools ISD 701 to order February 21st, 2024, 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And welcome everybody here. And with that, we'll go to item 2, Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand if you wish.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. With that, we'll move to item 3, a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move.
Support.
Moved by Director Polter, supported by Director Duarte. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. With that, we'll move to item 4, a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll move. Support.
Moved by Director Polter, supported by Director Egan. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. With that, we'll move to item 5. I'll turn it over to Rick, Superintendent Rick, for public comment.
We have none, Mr. Chair.
We did have a handout from a person who's on a committee. She would like to speak. It was about safety and health concerns during lunchtime in elementary schools. And they said that after, we can leave a copy here if anybody wants one, but she said she'd be glad to come back at the next meeting. She didn't have time to talk with this one, so just to give people a heads up.
If we have any questions.
If there were any questions. And we'll see you at the next meeting. Item 6, administrative reports. Item A, Director, we'll start with the student director first. Christian?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So
You're
I have
welcome.
a few things to bring up. Well, today, myself and the other student representative, Addison, we both testified in front of the Senate Education Committee for the state legislature. Mrs. Sikora set us up with that, and we provided information on the district and how it is doing throughout the school year, alongside any potential suggestions we have for the legislators or changes we want to see happen from a state level that could impact the educational system. So one of the main things we brought up was funding and the differences in funding between high populated, more urban areas compared to rural areas and rural schools. And that seemed to be a reoccurring theme throughout the whole day with the testimonies. But yeah, it was a great experience, and I think we definitely got some good information out of it too. Other than that, I have a project that I've been working on with my friend, David Strugle. He's been assisting me with this survey that we made, and we got in contact with Mr. Gabardi to poll the 6th graders at the Lincoln Elementary on what they think of the whole grade shift of 7th grade. Additionally, we added an option on the survey for them to provide any changes they want to see happen to their schools in the future. And so far, we have a bit over 80 responses to the survey. We're actively going to be going through them and pulling out the responses that are realistic and that could potentially be brought up to the board for consideration. So once we figure that out, I'm hoping by next meeting, I'll have more information on that whole survey for you and present some ideas. Otherwise, that's it.
Sounds interesting.
That's awesome.
Thank you for doing that.
Is that just something that you both had interest in, or something for a class that you're getting credit for?
No, we just thought it'd be a good idea to get the 6th grade opinions on.
I tried to find a way to get them some credit, let them double dip a little, but they weren't interested. They're like, no, we're good. We just want to do it. So thank you, though. That's
Very
awesome.
nice. Okay, directors, anything?
Jim,
Yeah.
Director Gabardi and I participated, well, we listened to the district leadership meeting yesterday, and it's just amazing. I mean, I'm amazed when I get done with those meetings. Just such an engaged and energized group of administrators and teachers. There's representatives from each building, and it was just amazing the way they care about kids, care about improving our curriculum and education in our schools. So some of the things they talked about were the world's best workforce goals and action items. And I think expanding it, the primary focus, and Sarah, jump in if I'm misspeaking, but the primary focus on the goals was on special education, but they had to expand that to include the option that they chose was the Native American group. So they've got goals and they're working towards that. The READ Act update I thought was very informative, and the number of our teachers in elementary school that need to be trained, I think the number was about 100 and 60 hours of training. So I think the bargaining units are going to come forward with an idea on how we would accomplish that, because as I heard, there was going to be no extra funding for that mandate. So we need to stay tuned to that. And then the multi-tiered services audit that went on, I think in short order, we can expect an update at a board meeting. So it's just an amazing committee, and the number of people, I don't know, maybe 12, 15, 20, I don't know how many there were, but everybody is so engaged and passionate about improving the education in this district. So thank you to all of you and your staff.
Thank you. Very good, thank you.
Ditto.
Okay, with that, we'll move to item B, administrators and Superintendent Rick.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. So we have a handful of our principals that are here today, and some other administrators also, but I know that the board has been asking questions about what a realignment might look like, and I know that we've been waiting and we've given out some information, but that March 1st deadline is quickly approaching, where we'll know exactly who has decided to retire this year, or who's going to stay on staff. So we're moving forward and planning for this realignment. And one of the other things that we're talking about is we have to make some reductions this year, some staffing reductions, just to be budget conscious. And this alignment, a lot of those reductions rely on this realignment to happen. So the principals are going to talk about that a little bit today, why that is, why you might not be able to make these cuts if you don't realign the buildings. So BJ, it looks like you're going first, so.
Actually, it's my month to present for Washington as well, so if you don't mind, I'd like to give you some updates just from the Washington before we jump into all of this, so.
More double dipping, see, we're trying to.
Some recent and future highlights coming up. January 29th, we had our West PTO that hosted the Washington in Your Neighborhood Winter event. We were actually able to get this in before the rinks closed with no ice. It was a very well received. A lot of kids and families came out for that. Again, very nice to be able to put that on. Coming up in March, we will be focusing on I Love to Read activities throughout the month. The 4th and 6th of March, we have conferences in the evening, piggybacked with the evening book fairs. April, we will host our annual Cake Connection Night, getting ready for kindergartners for the coming year, having families coming in, students that get a chance to see what a kindergarten class looks like. But planning for that will be forthcoming, and a date to be determined yet. On the 19th of April, our 3 elementaries will be hosting the Title I night at the Lincoln. On the 29th of April, will be our Western Neighborhood Spring event, and that'll be hosted at the Brooklyn Park. In May, on the 23rd, we have our Wellness Day, which incorporates Washington, Greenhaven, Assumption, and VCA that are invited to attend that each year. That'll be held at Cheever Field again. And amongst all of those months, we'll have multiple meetings planned for the coming year, instructional focus, shifts in process and procedures for our students and staff, transitional meetings for students, schedules, duties, on and on goes the list. But any questions as far as things at Washington? All right, with that, I think we'll jump right in. For the Washington, and I also include in this the ELC, we are one whole complex basically, but as we look at realignment updates, we truly look forward for the opportunity to have a pre-K and through first grade levels all working together in one complex. Positive outcomes of this, the ability to staff collaborate just within a hall, within a building, down the hall, curriculum alignment, discussions, being able to meet. Yes, we can do Zoom or Google, it's just not the same when you can pour through a text and take a look at a new math curriculum that you're going to decide on or go forward with. And honestly, for me, a greater ability to specifically target and program for those developmental, social, emotional, educational, and other unique needs of that for those youngest students. Looking ahead to 2024-25, we would keep things very similar. 8 sections of K, same as what we have currently, just that 4 in each building currently. We will, due to realignment, be looking at 7 sections of first grade. There would be an increased Title I support. That happens through the realignment as an increase. Social emotional support, again, realignment shift. Right now, social emotional support has been ongoing at the Greenhaven. That was shifted to Washington. I look at this as a great way to define progression of grades from building to building. You probably aren't privy to much of this, but a lot of discussions go on every August about balancing class sizes from building to building. Taking a look at where families live and trying to assign families to one building or another based on boundaries throughout, and fold into that transportation and the need to help support students in title and special ed. It's daunting, to say the least. With the addition of our ELC in the past couple of years here, we've been able to get all of our early childhood students and staff into one building and program for their unique needs. And I truly believe that it's time that we do the same for our other students. The benefits, and maybe Mandy could speak to this a little bit, but the benefits of them to be able to pull together for a staff meeting, to organize trainings for CEM, to organize the things that need to be done within your building with your staff going in one direction has truly been a benefit. I mean, would you agree with that? You know, and you might be surprised, and I kind of underline this, but there is a really big difference between a kindergarten coming in the fall and a second grader that comes in the fall. And each grade has its unique needs, and we have professionals that target these age levels as their passion. They are experts for kindergarten, first grade, to be able to have them all housed and sharing that expertise with one another within one complex would truly be amazing in my eyes.
Mr. Berg, before you change
Yep.
that,
Go ahead.
can you just talk a little bit more about what that looks like on your slide where you show the increased Title I support and emotional support?
So
How
currently,
that's increased, like, can you just give a little bit more information?
right now we have 2 full-time title staff at the Washington. And I'm speaking specific to a building here. So we have 2 full-time title staff at the Washington, and we have a .6 interventionist. And as we begin the new year, we would actually have 3 full-time title staff, but not an interventionist. So we're looking at a full-time, or an FTE equivalent of 0.4 increase at our building. Some of that shifts between the 3 elementaries as far as reductions and increases, but we've come together and felt that the youngest students, we're trying to get them off on the right foot early. So that's where some of the, when I say realignment increase or realignment shift, currently in Mr. Vessel's building at the Greenhaven, they have behavior interventionists. And in the coming year, we're looking to help focus and help kindergarten students adjust, and also first graders to those early years. So
Is 3 enough at that level since they're all going to be starting out now in one building?
yeah, I believe so. Yep,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Any other questions for me? And this is really just a schematic of what that would look like within our building. You can see the kindergarten classes mainly all on the first floor. We have one kindergarten class up on the second floor. That one has a bathroom, so it stays the same as the others on the first floor. Have a kindergarten teacher that's already volunteered to, hey, I'll be the one to move if you need me to move. So and they've already staked claim to that. Kim?
So just a quick question, and I know you talked about this probably back in December when this plan was shared with the board. And just to kind of reiterate, this was a plan that was developed by our administrative team in consultation and communication with staff in the buildings. So that was back in December. So now a couple months later, when more of the plan has been fleshed out, I'm assuming that there's conversation with faculty and staff that's ongoing.
Ongoing.
And there's always like the 80-20 rule, right? But how would you describe the consensus of the faculty and staff in your building about this reorganization? Are they excited? Are they not excited?
And I wouldn't just speak on that just my building. Knowing the kindergarten staff and the first grade staff would be coming over. Yeah, it's an opportunity for us to grow together. And I've done a lot of things already to plan for that, and just as you said, ongoing communication. We will fully meet on March 20th during one of our PLCs. We kind of realign that to be able to meet K1 in my building. Mr. Bessel's going to do 2-3 in his building, and really speak on a lot of the nuts and bolts that need to be taken care of to really be up and running by fall. It's full schedule changes. I mean, I go from 12 sections to 15. Our prep schedule changes, our lunch schedule changes, early release schedule changes. It's daunting, to say the least. I've probably put in, I don't know, ballpark 20 extra hours so far just on schedules. But I think I have one now that is really well refined. But we'll talk about those things. That's my idea, and I would really want to flesh that out with staff to make it theirs. Realigning what our student supply list will look like for the fall. They're a little bit different between buildings now and need to come together to have one that goes out. So it's a new beginning, and that's how we're going to approach it. Is everybody has great ideas, and let's bring them out and charge together. So, any other questions for me? All right, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Besta.
So I'll go through a little bit about what Greenhaven's going to be looking like next year under this scenario. As of right now, our second grade between BJ and I, we currently have 8 second grade teachers. We would do the restructure, we got that down to 7. Our third grade teachers, we currently have 7. We would do the restructure, drop that to 6. I will say that will be dictated a little bit by enrollment. Right now, that would indicate we're right now about 27 kids in class with the 6th number. To get 10 more kids in, we got to talk, because that's getting up there for a third grade class. But I'm comfortable with those. The rooms at Greenhaven are big enough that we can do that, and it'll be fine and comfortable. I will say that talking to Tyler, we're going to we're going to do some work at the Greenhaven the summer after, which would be a perfect time, because then I think we can really come up with some good ideas from the teachers and myself about what we want that building to look like after being in it for a year. I will tell all the new second grade and third grade teachers and the ones that are currently there, don't unpack everything, because next summer is going to be packing it up again. So, which for second and third grade teachers is a really tough concept. But I do think it is a very good situation for us. And I concur with BJ on the benefits, but that one grade level thing to have under one roof is huge. It just, you don't understand until you've been where I've been at Lincoln, and then where I went to Greenhaven. Nothing against Greenhaven, I love it there. But you don't have all your teachers. I mean, BJ is working with half of them, I'm working with half of them, and as good as we work together, it still isn't the same. All teachers in a grade level under one roof will work together, align instruction and curriculum across grade levels, obviously that's there. This next thing, you guys have heard me speak a lot up here, and one of my terms I've used a million times is 3rd grade and 6th grade are not the same animals. And I've said it over and over and over again. In this situation, we are all the same animals now. We have the same animals in the same building. Don't mean that bad, but that's the case. We have the same age groups there. And that makes a big difference, especially when you start looking at student relationships too. You got to remember, we're bringing kids in, you know, a 3rd grade group and a 3rd grade or a 2nd grade group into the 3rd grade at Lincoln, and they all have to get to know each other. Now they're going to know each other throughout school. And that helps out, I think, with the social emotional fluency too, where we can kind of start balancing out what they're all doing, where they're at, and get them the support they need throughout. Every teacher and parent so far that I've talked to has been positive. And I will say that the teachers, I've contacted all the teachers that would be coming to my building, possibly coming, because obviously it's after March 1st, we don't know. And every one of them have been positive, have been very positive. The 3rd grade teachers at Lincoln that have previously worked for me before said they're not all that upset about having to work for me again, so I can say that again. But they would be, you know, it's a good group, and I know them, so I think it'll be pretty seamless as far as them coming over. And I will say too this, with what we're putting together at Greenhaven, it really is a perfect fit for potential room assignments. If you've walked into Greenhaven lately, you go up that wing that's straight ahead in kind of the purple, pink, whatever that is. That would be all our 3rd grade classrooms up on that level. Over on the right, the green, that would be all of our 2nd grade levels. Orange is split up as sped and title, and then the specialists in yellow. So the one room you will see there, number 18, with a question mark next to it, and a 3 in the pink. That one, as of now, I'm leaving open, because if we did have to add a 3rd grade, I have the ability to do that. The only other change I'm making regarding rooms is I'm going to move where our art room currently is, which is the open meeting in the blue to the right. I'm moving that to the yellow on the left, where it says art and music, because it is a huge room, and our art and music teachers are extremely happy about that. So for me, that's really it. Like I said, I really think it's a positive for the district. We've talked about this for a lot of years. Some of you may remember it. I mean, going back to strategic planning, I don't know how long ago that was. 2020, and this was kind of a goal we had set for ourselves to try to do this. And if we're going to do it, now's the time. I really believe that. And I will say too, this last part, I didn't say that, but at the bottom of their change can be very good. I made a switch here this year, in the middle of the year, and I'm not going to lie to you, I was extremely nervous about doing it. Best switch I ever made in my life. I feel rejuvenated, I feel excited. This really pumps me up, because we get to start over now too, and we get to bring some things in, and if there is a thing we're not doing really good, we get to do it good now. We get to change it. So to me, it's a great thing. So, any questions?
I've got 2 questions.
Yep.
One, with that room number 18, the 3 with the question mark, if that isn't added, are we thinking that, I know Boys and Girls Club is currently at Greenhaven, is that correct?
Yeah, they'd be,
Would they stay there?
no, they'd be at the high school now.
Okay.
They have more room.
And I know
at the high
that's what was talked about, I also know that we have received emails from people not liking that idea, so I didn't know if that was a possibility.
And that, the only thing I would say about Boys and Girls Club right now is the top of the picture there, Boys and Girls Club, has the 2 end rooms, and then we actually gave them a 3rd room, and we've given them a part of the OTPT room, and they still don't have enough space.
Okay, so one really wouldn't even help.
No, right now, OTPT, Boys and Girls Club, in my estimation, needs classrooms. I would say comfortably they should probably have 4 or 5. That's just how many kids are involved in it, and it's growing. So, and it's a good program, I think it's good, but I think they need much more space than we can even offer right now, and I feel bad about it. I've tried to get them a little bit more, but it's impossible in our building right now to get them more space.
Sure.
And no offense, if as a teacher, the last thing you want is a bunch of kids coming into your room you don't know, and with all your stuff in there, it's just not a good chance. So you need to have open spaces available for them to have that. And second?
The other thing is I mean, I believe that the positivity starts with all you admin to go down to your teams, which is good. And so far, from the Washington and Greenhaven, you guys all make wonderful points about what good this is going to do, but I have to believe there has to be some concerns in each building. And if you could share just what your biggest concern is, because I think it's important to talk, because then we know how to support you in this, because it's a lot.
Biggest concern is moving, and that's a big one. I mean, you think about, and again, I just go on my 3rd grade at Lincoln and thinking about what they have in their classrooms, and getting that over there and getting it in, and that's a lot. So I think their biggest concern, and I think talking to the teachers, and disagree with you if you'd like, but just the ones I've talked to is, that's a lot of moving. And so some of the plans we've talked about I think are good, and I think it'll help, and I think anything we can do for the teachers to take the pressure away from them a little bit is good. Tyler had talked about, not trying to get everything done that he can in all the buildings by, I think, August 15th. If we can do that, and we can tell our staff on August 15th, you can get back in there and rearrange your rooms, huge difference, and I think that's kind of the discussion we've been having. So to me, that's probably the #1 concern that I've seen. Other than that, talking to BJ's 2nd grade, some of the teachers there, they came over and looked around one day, and they were excited about it. But it's going to be, that moving's going to be tough. And I know that, well, I shouldn't say that. When I moved from Lincoln, I had a backpack, and I was good. That's a whole different, like I said, they got stuff in their rooms. They got stuff in their rooms that, I mean, it's going to take a lot of work.
So can you speak on that? I mean, do you know what that plan looks like a little bit to assist in that for those teachers?
Yeah, so a couple of things. Again, if we have a good school year, if we have don't have snow cancellation days, at some point in April, early May, I'd like to come to the board and recommend that we're done the Friday before Memorial Day. I think it's the 26th, I believe.
That'll be our last day.
And give our staff
24th.
those days, 24th, and give our staff those days to pack and get ready. And Tyler's also put out asking for additional summer help, like some of the PSAs and some other folks will come in and help with this move and help with the cleaning. Because that's his big thing is all the floor, every classroom, all the furniture, everything has to come out, the floors get redone, all the hallways get done, we have painting then. To get it all done by August 15th is gonna be tough. He's usually right up to the last minute on the last day before the workshop. But we're gonna try to get some additional help there to make that move happen for the teachers. Then like Mr. Bestel said, that's really kind of that's not debatable. We need to let people get back in here for a couple of weeks before the workshop starts. High school teachers, maybe not so much, but kindergarten, 1st grade teachers, they're usually in all summer, right? Let alone, we're reducing their time in the classroom, but we want to give them as much time as possible.
And we are, I know Derek's going to do that, and we're going to not run our targeted summer programs this year to keep those buildings open and basically to get people in and out of there as much as they can. As much as I love those programs right now, this year if this is the case, we have a priority that we got to do that first.
So I would presume that in my mind, since I have to think through that, is they'll pack their boxes in May, probably have really good labels on who they belong to, what room they're going to, right? Tyler and staff will do all the heavy-duty cleaning, and then their boxes will be transported by maintenance to their new building, to their new room, and then hopefully when they come back in the middle of August or whatever, their stuff will be there. And
and the other part about that is too, when you're looking at the size of our kids, desks, just an example, it's not just moving your personal stuff, it may be moving desks from one building to another. So you look at that just adds to that, but I agree. And what I've told my staff to try to calm their nerves a little bit is just label everything, put your name on everything, put a piece of tape on it with your name on it, put it as big as you want it, and it'll get there, And we already do have, BJ and I and Derek have already came up with a item, basically a list of where everyone is and where they're going. Now, again, after March 1st, we might have to tweak that a little bit, but we have been working on this for a long time and done a lot of hours on it. So I think as far as this happening, I'm more comfortable with where we're at right now than I truly thought I'd be, just because I think of the planning we've been able to put into ourselves, you know. So. All right, thank you.
Sir, I just wanted to add to the one question you had about, uncertainties. And we do a lot of work in our buildings to build camaraderie and family and so forth, and this is a change for everybody. And, I think part of it, though, that people look forward to is, they know they're going to a place where good people are and people that are passionate about their grade level as well. So that's eased that a little bit. But yeah, you have some uncertainty of, this has been my home for 30 years for some, and, I guess that's not really the case, but 10 years or more. So it's a change, and like Kim had said, a lot of communication, just being upfront with everybody and honest, it goes a long ways.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, the Lincoln, we're obviously looking at switching from 3rd through 6th to 4th through 7th. One of the unique things about the Lincoln is the kids that are setting foot in the Lincoln this year are all the same kids back next year. We're not moving any kids anywhere, so the 3rd through 6th will just, they all shift to 4th through 7th and stay under our roof. So there's not a lot of change for the students. The students that are in 6th grade don't know the high schools, haven't been there yet, so they're just gonna end up staying at the building for another year. I mean, whether there's a couple sad faces from kids, sure, but they're used to what we have. I mean, they haven't experienced this. So another year with us really isn't gonna be too big of a change for any of the kids. So that's nice on their part. It's also nice for staff. We know the kids, we're used to the kids. They've been with us, they know us. They're not gonna have a big change and make a big change to the other buildings. So that is gonna be basically the same for all that. The big thing with us is the 6th graders are another year to mature before moving to the high school. I have coming up here, I don't know if it's next or not. Yeah, discipline and truancy issues I feel like should go down. But the big thing, like I just said, the kids are used to us. We know the kids. When they go to the high school, they're meeting all new staff. The staff is meeting all new sets of kids. They have that learning curve, getting to introduce the kids and know their backgrounds and what they've done and all that stuff. And then also they have the influence of the older kids. They're not going to have that. They are going to be our older kids at our building. So I feel like truancy, discipline, all that stuff should take a big nosedive because we're used to the kids, we're used to us. So we deal with them now and we'll continue to deal with them. So I see that as being a big plus. This was the one that we talked about back in 2020 with our strategic planning. One of the big goals we talked about was trying to get back to a middle school setting. This gets us that one step closer. Obviously, a true middle school setting is 5 through 8. We can't do that. We looked into it as best we could to try to see if we could even do that this year, but we just can't have space. It just doesn't work. There's nowhere for the 4th grade to go. Because the 4th grade would be kind of just hanging out there because their buildings are full. So for us to make that change, we would need to add some space somewhere. But we're closer. So I mean, that becomes very nice for us. In some goal that we set forth, we're kind of making our way that direction at least. Most of the parents I've talked to are excited and happy about us making the change. Like I said, the biggest comment I hear from people I talk to is, can we move the 8th grade there as well? That's one thing I heard a lot of people say, is can we just keep the 8th grade there too? And I said, well, like I just told you, it's a big space issue, so we can't. But we're definitely moving that direction. My staff at the Lincoln, the only group that's really being affected is the 3rd grade teachers are moving down. They're excited to get on. They know, like I said, they know Mr. Vestal, they worked with him before. The only thing I heard from them was, is the fear, at least not the fear, but I've been at the Lincoln. I hate to leave the Lincoln, been here forever, but they're all excited for a new adventure and something new. And like you said, Mr. Vestal said about trying something new and having something fresh and kind of refreshing yourself. The 3rd grade teachers have been very good about, we're going to do this, we're all supportive of doing this, and we're ready to go down. So for me in the building, I don't have a map up yet. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how it's going to go, but I'm leaning towards having the 4th grade having their own space by themselves. And then 5, 6, 7 kind of intermixed in the building together. So I'm working on that right now. The amount of staff in the building will be the same, so I'm sending six teachers, or actually 7 teachers, but we're going to cut back one because we had 6 before, but 6 go down to Greenhaven and 6 from the high school coming down to Lincoln. So it'll be the same amount of staff they have now. So for us, we're probably the least affected building when it comes to, you start talking everything other than a few staff shifting, which is the same, reduces the movement. Like you said, with I did a quick calculation when I was doing this stuff, we're looking at 25 classrooms get shifted around, just with Lincoln alone. So, but a lot of it will be internal, so it's not the big move where we gotta load trucks and haul stuff all over the place. The janitor's gotta pull everything out in the summer anyways, because they clean floors. Instead of putting it back in that room, they just can shift it to another classroom. Like I said, we'll have 6 third grade teachers moving, and less high school teachers coming down. We are gonna run the 7th grade schedule at the Lincoln like the high school, so we'll roll kids through. I won't necessarily have a bell dinging all the time, but we'll have hours. We'll roll them through. We're gonna do all the offerings. The 4 core offerings, we're looking at the math, science, social, English. We're talking to Ms. Sikora, Mr. Schneider. We're looking at potentially having like some Spanish in 7th grade next year. Health will be in 7th grade next year. Some career and college readiness class, like a semester. Of course, we have music, choir, band. We have all that kind of stuff that they have here. One of the other things that is you're going through this and we're working on it, and you start to think about these different things, and it's like, oh yeah, we gotta do that now, because we haven't had to do it. We'll have to do like an hourly attendance, which at the elementary school level, you just do it in the morning, really. But as we're gonna have 7th graders there, we're gonna have 7th grade athletics, so we're gonna have to have attendance every hour. We're gonna have to make sure grade checks are getting done for 7th graders, all that kind of stuff that flows into the athletic portion of it. More work with the AD from over here on some of that stuff. So there's a few changes we're gonna have to do, but it's not overwhelming or daunting. We are putting a lot of time in working on scheduling. I am looking at the 4th grade, let's for sure stay at their elementary level. 5th and 6th, we're considering some movement, a little more movement. We'll be meeting with the teachers after the March 1st. I told the grade level teachers we'll have some good meetings together. Also having Ms. McDonald involved with her new position. She's working on different curriculums and structures and this READ Act, so we have a lot of different things we have to meet. So we will be, as soon as we get into the March area here, we're really gonna hit the ground running with some more meetings and getting some stuff done. So, but like I said, the Lincoln is probably the least affected of all of us. So.
How's it been since you got your assistant principal?
Oh, it's been great. Ms. Tui's been doing a lot of the discipline stuff, which is what the dean really does, and she's taken on a lot of that, and she's all over the building and helping out. Still busy. I mean, we're both busy going all over the place, but I don't feel like stuff gets neglected now. Like we're roll from one day to the next, getting your logging done, contacting parents, doing all that kind of stuff, along with all the administrative stuff that goes on with the teachers and people being absent and substitutes and everything else. So definitely feeling way more above water. So thank you for that too. So
Derek, just to reiterate, where we are in the plan now, we're still gonna have honors courses in 7th grade.
yes, honors courses too. I talked to the counselor, Mr. Hintz here, about how they set that up. I'll do the recommendations from 6th grade teachers, the MCA scores, stuff like that. Yes, we're still doing all the honor stuff that we did here. We'll get that going there. Yeah.
And then school counseling, that's, that's a good topic.
We have the one, we've talked a little bit about that structure. We haven't really sat down and finalized any of that, but I have one school counselor there now.
Okay.
We'll see if it works out to bring down another one down, or if they're gonna meet it up here, or that's a decision that still needs to be discussed. So, yeah.
And I think, right, Lauren isn't doing a lot of academic counseling as a school counselor. She's doing mental health support.
Yep.
And
Yep, she's got kids to meet with her weekly,
Yep.
and that kind of stuff, so she's doing a lot of that mental health support, and of course, as you get into the upper elementary, you start getting more like drama stuff, so she's dealing with a lot of that too. So.
like Mr. Hintz here, there's a piece of that, obviously, but he's also doing some
Academic stuff.
academic
Yes.
planning for kids
Yes.
and getting them ready for.
And I know it's hard with where we are, I mean, just because we have a lot of students, really, and relatively few counselors, I mean, because of the social emotional stuff we deal with and the academic, I mean, if there's any way we can even start early on academic advising, I think that's so important to help kids kind of develop their path and create a path for them, so.
To talk about some of the support systems, we are gonna end up at the Lincoln with like 1.6 intervention, and the title teachers will all be down at the Greenhaven and Washington, where we had a full-time title this past year. We actually had a couple title in the years previous, but this year we had a full title, so we're gonna shift that down, and we'll have interventionists in place at our buildings, which should meet a lot of the requirements of the READ Act too, so that extra support. Yeah. Okay.
Now for the high school. So one of the things that was brought up to me when I started last year from one of the PLC committees is that middle school philosophy, and they said it's something that we would really like. And so last year, that was the PLC group that I sat in on the most, was the middle school philosophy. And that's at the time we had 7th and 8th grade, so we were walking around the building, counting lockers, scheming of how could we make a middle school within this high school to meet the needs of our 7th and 8th graders. And we just couldn't find a way to make it work with 7th and 8th grade. And then when the whole district alignment came up, with 7th grade out of the building, that frees up a little bit more space for us to meet some of those goals and dreams that the middle school philosophy PLC came up with. And one of those is like an 8th grade wing. So while we can't put the 8th graders down at the Lincoln, we can at least isolate them here at the high school now that we have freed up classrooms. And so our plan moving forward next year is this level will mainly be the 8th grade wing, primarily that side of the building. And so these will be the main academic classes, so your math, your English, your social. We can't move the science labs because of the plumbing and the gas and all of that stuff, so that will be the one subject where there will be a little bit of commingling during passing time. So 8 minutes of the day, yeah, the 8th graders will commingle with the high schoolers as they're going over to the science lab, but for the majority of the day, they're going to be all over here. And one of the biggest complaints I hear from parents is, my kids don't go to the bathroom at the high school because they walk in, they see 17-year-old man shaving in the bathroom. They're just afraid to pee. You know, it's intimidating. I was 5'1" as a 7th grader, 8th grader, so I can imagine you walking in with these young men doing their thing in there. And so with this new 8th grade wing, we're going to be able to have our own dedicated 8th grade bathroom here right across from my office. So they have their own place to be where there's no older kids in there. And we're going to properly label it and make it known that that is the 8th grade only bathroom. That doesn't mean that's the only bathroom that they can use if they're across the school at band or down in the shop. Like they can use the other restrooms, but this one is only for the 8th graders. And then also the 8th graders will be in close proximity to the nurses wing right here. Our student services office, that's where I'm located. All of your counselors are right here. The cafeteria is just below the stairs. Our North Homes classroom is right here, and then also if they were to go up the stairs, Northrooms is up there. So there'll be no reason for 8th graders to be up on the 3rd floor. They will go down to the ground level for classes like FACS, choir, or all those things that we can't move those classrooms. But the majority of their day, the 8th graders will be in this 8th grade wing. It'll be nice to have one level for learning. Again, they'll have teams right here, so teachers will be closer in proximity to collaborate with their person who is teaching the other sections along with them. And also the cafeteria, we talked about that one, and the library, all right here too. Because some of those 7th and 8th graders, they tend to roam a little bit. They'll be up on the 3rd floor and say, I need to go to the library. Which means wherever they want to go for 15 minutes. And then they make it to the library, but if you were to follow their trail, it's not the most direct. So this really cuts that out and keeps them down here, close to everything.
So their name badges, like 8th grade, one of them is going to be blue and white, and the 9th through 12th will be white and blue. So if we find somebody with the wrong color badge roaming in the wrong part of the building, we can send them back.
Yeah. So, we can do one of those underground fences, for the dog. They get outside, they just want to give them a little zap. So Boys and Girls Club, there were some questions earlier about how would that work. Obviously, we're freeing up some classrooms here at the high school. It just makes sense. We've got the most space. I know you spoke about they need 4 classrooms minimum. We're able to give them 4 classrooms plus an office space at the high school.
And then they'll have access to the cafeteria, the gyms, and the pool, which is a real big perk for them as well. Because they said that there's 132 kids, give or take. And so And they also are trying to work with the Assumption to go across the street for playground use or walking to the Washington. So there's a lot more opportunities here for that to burn off steam.
And this, again, there used to be double doors right here in this hallway. We're looking at getting those reinstalled so that we can close them then. So then during the day, there shouldn't be any reason for students to be down that corridor, and it leaves the Boys and Girls Club stuff they get their own dedicated space where there's not commingling of high school students, or if the wrestlers are after school running laps around the building, they can close these hallway doors and they'll have their own dedicated wing of the school.
One of the really big pluses with that too, just so you know, that we've had to deal with, and it's nobody's fault, they're kids, but we have art projects up on the wall, and they get knocked off, they get tore down. It just happens because they're going all over our building, and so I have teachers that were pretty frustrated at that. So this to me is, you couldn't get any better than that for what you need to do.
And I'll just speak because I think one of the concerns that I heard from a parent was the drop-off, or the pickup, I'm sorry, and we're on the Boys and Girls Club is on the second floor. But as I stopped to reflect, I don't know how many have been down to the Heritage Center in Duluth, I suspect quite a few, but they actually designed that space as kind of the flagship Boys and Girls Club. And when you look at pickup there, and I've been there like at 5 o'clock when there's hockey games going on and wedding receptions and whatever else. And so it works. And I think with the safety of the membership secretary and just thinking about, again, it's change and being planful, and maybe it will be the membership secretary walking the student down to maybe a courtyard or something, rather than the parent having to come up. But
We talked about having a desk set up at kind of at the top of the stairs for the pickup time. And then we have the elevator goes right up if we need any elevator access. And parents can pick up on this main street right here and then send the kids down.
so they'll be, they will be safe. And I think there was question about when the Boys and Girls Club students come into the high school, and the high school is still in session. But again, I think with access to the cafeteria or other spaces, we might be able to be creative on how we get them into the building. And
Yes, and with 7th grade not here, we can put the buses on one end of the building and free up another side of the building where that could be drop off for Boys and Girls Club. So then there wouldn't be any mingling at all.
And then also, sorry, were there any other questions about the high school realignment? Additionally, there's going to be, I think, 24 or 25 total classrooms that are going to be shifting, but that's all internal. So it's like what the other principals have talked about. It's taking out the equipment, waxing the floors, and just relocating it to a new teacher's classroom. So it's not, 25 is a lot, but we're not moving desks across town. It's all internal. More like phone extensions is probably going to be the
Technology.
and the technology. That's going to be the biggest hiccup for us. And then I'd like to give you all just a little bit of an update with our Blue Jacket Virtual School. We met as a team yesterday after school. There's 11 of us on that team that's been designing the Blue Jacket Virtual School, and we're planning for our pilot program in the fall, and we're gearing it towards juniors and seniors. And currently we have 25 students that are signed up for the pilot program, but we know there's more interest out there. Students have come to the counselors and said, I want to do it, I didn't fill out the form. So we anticipate those numbers to be increasing as we get closer to next fall, but we have a lot of cap space for that. Currently there are 22 Hibbing High School students, current Hibbing High School students that are interested in the Blue Jacket Virtual School, 2 open enrollees that responded to the post that was on social media, and then 1 homeschool student who wants to return to Hibbing for her senior year. We anticipate interest to increase once all of our final details and expectations get established and created, because again, it's hard for kids to sign up for something where it's not 100% defined of what we're doing. Wholly, like what will it look like for assignment completion, all of those things, and that's what our committee is meeting. And so our meeting yesterday, our next steps, we discussed that we're going to create our handbook that'll be unique to the Blue Jacket Virtual School, because it's going to look different turning in assignments when you're not in person anymore. You know, you're going to turn in the paper. And then also, we talked about reaching out to other students who had some that indicated some interest, but they didn't fully commit. So they're like, oh yeah, I'd be interested, but I'm torn between taking housing and design online or housing design in person. And so those are the one-on-one conversations that we're going to have as a counseling staff with all this.
What exactly will be offered for that?
So we're offering the core classes for juniors and the core classes for seniors. So your composition, your algebra 2, a chemistry or a physics. We're still exploring what would work best for an online model. And then for some electives, we're looking at potentially like a housing and design, exploring some FIED options potentially. But essentially the courses that juniors and seniors will need to complete their graduation requirements. We talked about like our online offerings will be less than our in-person offerings. We aren't going to offer welding, but Mr. Howard is in development of creating a CAD and a drafting class that would be for the program in the future. So there's more down the line that teachers are working on developing, but for our pilot program next year, it's more just the basics of what they need to graduate.
Thank you.
And I am thrilled about this. I bumped into a grandparent actually, and I think when this initially came out on Facebook, there was like question, and just seeing the communication that's going to get out there, I think is going to be really helpful because, as I said, you know, when I was in high school, it looked very different. And right now, with the number of students we have that are homeschooled or taking online classes through Minnesota Virtual Academy or another provider that are doing PSEO, they're probably not, there's probably a lot of PSEO students that are PSEO students not taking classes from our school, but that are not at the college, and they're doing it because there's flexibility, it's online. So for the amount of work and the creativity and the challenges and the opportunities, I mean, I really appreciate this because where else can you go and get a great Hibbing High School education? You're here, so if you really want to talk to somebody face to face, and yet providing young people with those opportunities to be more flexible, and I think this is awesome.
Yeah, and so the Northern News Now, KBJR/CBS out of Duluth, saw our social media post on our Facebook page, and so they reached out to the district and said that they're interested in speaking with somebody because they're working on a story about online schools. And so they sent a reporter out yesterday, and she was in the building with me for about 2 hours, and we interviewed and talked about the program and the plans, and then I gave her a tour of the building. So she's working on writing that story and editing, and then we'll see if it gets published and put out there. And if it does, the camera adds 10 pounds. just want to get that out there.
You and I met a couple weeks ago to talk about this, because again, I think it's really exciting that we're offering another option to students. Have you had any opportunity yet, I know it was just a couple weeks, but to extend that invite to those students who do the online?
Yeah, so that's what we've been working on this week, actually. Myself and the counselors are looking at all of our drops and where the kids went, whether they went homeschool or online, and we're reaching out to them and seeing if any of them would want to come back if they could do online through Hibbing schools as opposed to like a Minnesota Connections. So that's what we're currently working on.
I'm excited to see that, because when I look at those numbers that you were saying you're going to get feedback from both the students and the staff in here, I think that'll be interesting because I think, the reason why a current classroom high school student would be doing the virtual is going to be completely different than a homeschool student coming to do the virtual. Like a homeschool student, they already have so much freedom. So I can't imagine that they were doing this because for freedom, where a classroom student right now doesn't have all that freedom, and this gives them that. And everybody has different reasons, but I think it can just make the program so much stronger to get those different, a little mix of types of students who are learning differently right now.
Yeah, And that's going to be the feedback too for this pilot program for sure, and maybe, you know, a couple years into the future of the program. We're going to create a staff survey and a student survey. So when they complete the semester, they're going to do an evaluation of how the course went, and then just like we do when we take college classes, was your professor prepared? Did the materials apply? Did you, was your work ethic good? We're going to do those kind of surveys too to get that feedback from this pilot program. So by the following year, so that'd be 25, school year 25-26, we're hoping to ramp it up 9 through 12 and not have a cap for this, you know, for the pilot. It's going to be, if we have 100 kids that want to do online, then we'll make it work.
So the students that are enrolled in the Blue Jacket Virtual School, if they want to come to this building and participate in extracurricular activities, clubs, sports, whatever, they can do that.
Yep, they're a full-fledged Hibbing High School student. And most of the students actually are enrolling in our hybrid option. So they're going to do some classes online and some classes in person. So a lot of your band kids, a lot of your kids that are doing like your welding classes are electing to do maybe 1 or 2 classes online, and then they are going to do the rest of them in person too. But we do have a handful of students who want to go full-time online, but if they want to come and talk to their counselor, they can either do it through Google Meet, or they're welcome to come in and talk to the counselor. If they want to come into the library and sit in there for a couple hours and pull out some books and use some resources for an assignment, they're welcome to as well. They can't just roam the building, you know, but they can come in and just like any other student.
And I think when we talk about, you know, what can we do to get our enrollment up, these are the things, being a leader and being innovative and what's new, not doing the same thing that everybody else is doing, but trying something different. And I just really hope that this is a huge success.
Well, and with the online, and I'm not exactly sure, maybe homeschool, maybe not. I would imagine other districts, once COVID hit, probably saw an influx of online or their students enrolling in online. I don't know if there's any way we can tap into that too. You know, like Sarah said, tapping into our own online students. But in other neighboring communities, if we've got neighboring students that are homeschooled, their home primary campus is Minnesota Virtual Academy, maybe they would like to be part of the Blue Jacket Virtual School because there's other activities that they can engage in, whether it's prom or the Friday night, whatever activities.
Right, or open gyms and stuff.
Yeah. I don't know if we can tap into that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I wrote a letter to all of our students next year who are juniors or seniors that are homeschooled currently. I wrote a letter to all of them and mailed it out personally, inviting them to participate in the program. That's how we did get one senior to come back, and it's something that we're actively working on.
Wonderful.
Any other questions?
So, for the Virtual Academy students that are doing most of the classes online, or if they don't have a physical in-person class during like the early hours of the day, what would they do for assemblies, like stuff for coordination, jacket jamboree, whatever?
In the future, we're looking at creating a lounge. We had a phone call with the principal up in International Falls, and he showed us pictures of their student lounge that they created for their SITS kids. And I think that's something that we could definitely have here. So they have like a TV and study areas. So if you have a kid who is maybe their first in-person class is third hour, and they have nothing to do for the first 2 hours of the days, and they feel like waking up early, they can come into the school and go to that lounge. But next year for the pilot, we're looking at dedicating some space in the library for them.
So for the, but when we do general assemblies, like first hour for homecoming, are they going to be notified and be able to just come into the school and attend those, even if they're
They
online?
would still have parents' square.
Yep, they still get parent square, all of those things, and they just have to come in and, you know, just sign in, just like a student coming in from PSCO would have to sign in.
And Power School, so they get all the bulletin announcements so that they would know.
Yeah, and there'll be like frequent check-ins from counselors and all sorts. We have a bunch of safety nets built into our program to meet the shortcomings that we saw during distance learning for COVID. It's not going to be like a set and forget kind of a thing. It's going to be this actively engaged, active monitoring and communicating with the students. So.
And that was my biggest concern when we met, is it being kind of the same as COVID, which we both agreed we really had to do better and up our game in that, and talking with you and going through that, you really did do that. They really did raise the bar on making this a much better learning than what everybody was just thrown in unexpectedly during COVID. So I just want to give people the peace of mind, because I know I was, like, no, I don't know, but I felt better after talking to you.
Yeah, because I was a teacher during COVID, so I have that, PTSD from it. But I was a band director, if you can imagine, distance band, trying to do clarinet over an eye patch. She goes, my internet went out. I don't know what to tell you. It was rough. So we aren't going to have that, and we have a committee of some really outstanding teachers that have been really stepping up. We have teachers and counselors on there, of young and old. So it's not just all the youngsters that think they know how to rule the world. We have some really experienced teachers that are giving some really good feedback.
So what's our maximum for this pilot?
Well, we're trying to keep each class is capped at 40. That's the maximum by MDE. Our target per class is about 30, 25 to 30. So for example, we're doing, we'll have maybe potentially online housing and design. We can have 30 students in that, but maybe only 20 will take it, because some of the students are hybrid. So they might take English and math online, but they're not interested in housing design. They'll just take it in person. So there's no set number of the total kids in the pilot program. It's per class is capped.
Well, it sounds like to me it's taking off and it's popular, and I feel like if people are interested from the area or beyond, they should get in contact.
And tomorrow morning we're going to be pulling, myself and the counselors are going to announce for all the kids to come down who have signed up for the program or were maybe on the fence about it. And we're going to have some conversations in the auditorium. As all the communications thus far has been through Parent Square and Schoology, so it'll be nice for the students that maybe have some specific questions that haven't reached out to me through email or come to my office, that they can sit there and be like, oh, okay, now that makes more sense. Yeah, I want to do math, science, and English, not just math and science. So, yeah.
Very good,
I think that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I guess the only thing just to kind of wrap it up, Mr. Chair, is there's been some conversation about, does a realignment plan have to be board approved? And I guess from state statute or through MSBA or own policies, this is not something that would need board approval, but we do not want to go down this path and put all this time and effort on this work if this is something that the board isn't in favor of. So I guess we were looking for some direction with the realignment. Do we proceed as presented? Are there things that you'd like us to change or approach it differently? Because we're getting down this path, and it's going to be hard to turn around here if the answer is no at this point.
Well, should we have some time to think about it and put it on that next meeting's agenda? But just someone make a motion to approve the program and get it going right away. There wasn't any program here yet.
We could just do a consensus discussion first, and put on for formal adoption or something.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
I thought when it was presented back in December, we decided it did not need to have a formal vote. And my concern is this, I mean, I have an appreciation for how much work goes into these reorganizations, and I would hate to have this be paused for 2 weeks for the next board meeting. I mean, because 2 weeks is precious time, or 3 weeks, whatever it is, to our next board meeting.
Well, and this was put out back when you said a lot more things have been added to it, so people weren't familiar with everything that just went on. So we could do a straw vote here and just say put it on if everyone's in agreement, or is there any disagreement?
I told her before they really like what I'm seeing, and every time I get more about it, the more enthused I am about it.
Director Mike,
I'd say go ahead. No question in my mind.
Director Duarte,
Same.
Chair Burkett. Okay.
So,
Yeah, we'll, for legality and everything, we'll put it on the, for approval on the next agenda.
Okay.
So we have record of it, as it was discussed.
but I hope the message is
Yeah.
pretty clear, so we don't pause these folks.
It's a good program, so.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're already building the master schedule. Teachers have already volunteered to go down and,
You know,
thank you
Very much appreciate the support, and as Director McLaughlin said, you have 15 weeks left, and every week is very precious.
And I just need to add, you know what? Sitting on this school board pre-COVID, we knew that we were funding things with soft money. We were also making tweaks so we didn't fall off the cliff this coming year. So I just feel like we wanted, being on the finance committee, thought it would be prudent to shave, and I call it shave with what other districts are going through, $1 million off our budget. And to be able to have all of you come up with a plan like this that truly, I think, benefits the students, benefits education, and really gets us a majority of where we need to be to shave that $1 million. I mean, who knows? Because if we didn't move forward, I have a feeling that shaving $1 million off our budget would look a lot different. So I mean, I just can't commend you and your staff enough for doing this. And I think it gets us to closer to where education, we've talked about education being the strategic plan and what we see going on with PSEO and everything else. So,
I just want to thank the staff for doing this. I know there's been a lot of additional work over and above what we have for daily requirements, but, and also our teachers supporting. And there's some big changes. Like, a couple of teachers talking, been in the same building since their student teaching days, and now they're being moved, but you know, they see the benefit of it. So I'm enthused about it.
Pioneers of the future.
and I can't speak for the rest of the board, but I can speak for myself. If anybody needs help moving, I'd be the first to sign up to help. I've been through it one time. And Bob, well, I don't know if Lisa was through it, but I've been through it and I would be willing to because I know that these guys are gonna make it just a fun opportunity and just a chance to mingle with their colleagues, and I'd be willing to help out as a school board member.
Well, can we access some students to help with that through some of their programs?
Very possibly. I mean, I had one of my teachers at Greenhaven said, I remember when we moved from Jefferson, and we just backed the trucks up and threw stuff in there. I'm like, I don't think it's gonna go that way this time. So, you know, but I think all this has worked with Tyler a lot. And in all honesty, there's nobody better. Whatever he needs, or what he plans, it's gonna work. So I got no reservation about Tyler. He'll tackle this thing and he'll go as smooth as it possibly can. And if he needs more help, he'll ask for it.
You gotta watch for the child labor liability.
I'm thinking we could probably just do an assembly line or something from the high school to the Lincoln and back or something, you know, with a barbecue in between.
Conveyor belt.
There you go.
I'd just like to say that being a member of this board, that we have taken and looked into the future with the administration, the teachers, because theoretically down the road in the future, we've got competition. Chisholm with a new school, Nashwack's going to have a new school, and now we're taking the lead by doing the virtual classroom school, and we're changing our format, how we teach. And I think it's a great program, and it's about damn time we did it. So I appreciate all your work and what the board has done to do this.
Thank you.
Like they told me, Columbus took a chance. So,
Yeah, but you didn't make it to Hibbing.
America.
You were there.
Park. Okay, we'll go to item C, committee report. Anything here? I have one thing on that. We're gonna address the committees at the next meeting where Director Martin will be a part of that. So we'll just appoint some there.
I have one thing. I had the opportunity to go to the Hibbing Chamber meeting yesterday, might be a new member also. But they would like to set up, as we had talked over the years, getting together with the school, the city, and the chamber, and the representatives from each one of those entities come together and figure out what we could do, or what they could do as a group to facilitate funding for not only the school, but for the city.
And as of yesterday or the day before, I was at the service squad for me. And the new head of Paul Peltier of Rams, he brought up the same thing. He asked me, I believe he had talked to Superintendent Rick and trying to get all these groups together too. He said,
Well, we've talked about it ever since I've been on this board.
well, he's organizing it now.
Now,
So
I think we should,
Yeah.
as we did with the schools and the changes,
It's
let's
a
go
work in
ahead and
progress.
get involved in it.
We did talk a week or so ago, and he is setting up those meetings, and once he had more of a format
Right.
aligned, then I was gonna see what we needed from our board for representation and how they want to do it, so.
So,
And we'll get the same cooperation through the chamber.
yeah.
Well, and I think anything the chamber can do to help promote our virtual academy and what we have going on, I mean, they probably hit a different target on their website or whatever.
Well, I know she met with Shelley met with Carrie and
Oh.
went through a career academy program. And they're going to incorporate that with the leadership program that the chamber offers. So they are working together on it, as long as Carrie's not here. Yeah, there's things that they work together that they're gonna, and try to get more involved with the career academy or businesses and things.
Sounds good. Interesting things going on. That's good. Thank you. With that, we'll move to item 7, administrative business. Sir Alex,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
you're welcome.
Item A is a motion to approve the resolution to accept donations, including $500 from the Evelyn Elks Lodge 1161 to support Miss Deloach's classroom, and $2,900 from United States Steel to support the purchase of neck Baylor shirts for the girls hockey.
Support.
Moved by Director Polter, supported by Director McLaughlin. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you.
Item B is a motion to approve payment number 2 to Range Cornerstone Roofing in the amount of $104,804.19 for the Hibbing Schools re-roof project.
So moved.
Chair will support. Moved by Director McLaughlin, supported by Chair Berklich. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you.
Item C is a motion to approve payment number 3 to Range Cornerstone Roofing in the amount of $11,686.65 for the Hibbing Schools re-roof project.
Support.
Moved by Director Polter, supported by Director Duarte. Any discussion?
You know, I'm gonna ask,
Go ahead.
We were waiting.
what payment are we at and how many do we have left to go?
This is the retainage, I think.
Yes.
This is the retainage.
Before I say all in favor, I'll direct the business manager. This is number 3 and number 4 or something like that. Save it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you.
And item D is a motion to approve the lease between Independent School District number 701 and the Tourist Center Senior Citizen, is that right? For a term of 5 years commencing March 1st, 2024.
So moved.
Moved by Director Polter, supported by Director McLaughlin. And just a comment on this one, this has been going on years and years and years, so it's just a formality.
So even though it's been going on for years and years, it's $1 a year, so it's $5. So is this something where this is actually saving us money? Because if they're not in it, then we take over the utilities or not? Or otherwise, if not, I mean, why do we just do this for $1? That's not good business.
It was good for the city.
But it's, they're just, if I read this right, they're renting the land.
It's on
but
our
their
land.
building.
Yeah, so that's just an agreement that way. So we could kick them out, I suppose.
Or sell it more than $1, $5. The dollar amount doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. I know it's good for the city.
I think they do the dollar lease just to show you have the lease paperwork on file, and it's really a nominal, it's not about the money. And I mean, that's previous
It
boards.
should be, we need money.
Well, I was gonna say, previous boards had set this agreement up, and this is kind of a,
Goes back before me.
right, right.
I think the limit is 5 years. I remember talking about the past.
Yeah,
Otherwise it was gonna go on forever.
Well, and then if we chose not to do it, that they would have to remove the building, or they have the right to remove the building from the land. But I was confused about it in that it talks about, what did it talk about there? It felt like there were two conflicting clauses in here about no other permanent structures, and then there was something else about construction. Oh yeah, no other permanent structures shall be placed on the premise other than those that have been granted in prior leases. So I'm assuming that's the building.
Right.
But then construction on the demised premise shall comply with all existing state, county, and city building ordinances. Would that be just like if they remodeled?
Or the original building, maybe when the agreement was written and they built the building.
And then the other thing I couldn't remember, and I was gonna drive past and I forgot, was a fence. They talk about a fence. Is there a fence there on the south
Yeah.
end?
Yeah.
There is?
There's also a fence separating it from the pavement or the whatever.
So they can't go across it.
Yep.
No parking.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
I
Opposed, same sign. Motion
I
carried.
don't, it's weird. I don't, it doesn't, it's not good business sense.
Okay, we'll go to item 8, discussion items, treasurer position. We're gonna do something here. We checked with MSB and that Director McLaughlin will have double duties as pro tem and the treasurer, since for a lot of legal documents that had been signed once the first of the year, it'd be a big mess. So she'll take on double duty until the time, if need be, we could split it up for the time being. And then, like I said, the other thing we'll address is the committees. We'll do that at the next meeting. But for now, Kim will be the director, McLaughlin will be the president, or pro tem, and the treasurer. With that,
Motion to adjourn.
without objection, motion to adjourn. The meeting's adjourned. It's 4:47. Thank everybody for coming.